Treasury has a dedicated website, Transition to Accrual Accounting, under the Accountant General's Desk tab, where all support materials are available. So, Chairman and honorable members, the cash to accrual accounting transition roadmap and the standard chart of accounts can be accessed from the said dedicated website, together with capacity building and sensitization plans. Kenya has taken advantage of the transition exceptions provided for under International Public Sector Accounting Standards 33 and approved a 3-year transition roadmap accordingly. A summarized transition roadmap is as follows. The first year, which ended which reigned between 2023-2024 to 2023, which ended on 30th of June 2024. Here, audited International Public Sector Accounting Standards cash-based financial statements were to be made updated or available. Opening statements of financial position was ascertained. Now, from 2024-2025, which ended in June 30th, 2025, just less than 2 months ago, was the first transitional International Public Sector Accounting Standards accrual financial statements. Here, the balance sheet must have at a minimum financial assets and financial liabilities. So we, for the first year, capturing financial assets and financial liabilities as a minimum. Now, going to the next financial year where we are in, which is the second year of implementation of this system, that is 2025-2026, which will end on 30th of June next year. This will be the second transition transition and International Public Sector Accounting Standards accrual financial statements. Here, the balance sheet will have at a minimum financial assets, as was mentioned above, but also inventories and financial liabilities. So in addition to financial assets and liabilities, we will also have inventories forming part of the financial reporting. The final year, which will end on 30th June 2027, which is now the final year of implementation, here they will be full compliant with International Public Sector Accounting Standards of accrual financial statement that will include fixed assets, all financial assets, all financial liabilities, and all liabilities. So apart from the financial assets, the financial liabilities, and apart from inventories and other assets, there will also be fixed assets included in our financial reporting, and all the liabilities, including the long-term liabilities. So transitioning public entities are required to develop a detailed entity-level roadmap as per the above. So all entities are required to do a roadmap to transit to full accrual accounting by 2027 June based on this roadmap. Honorable members and chairman, I want to talk a little about IFMIS reengineering. IFMIS has been assessed on what needs to be done for all public entities to report on an accrual basis. The National Treasury has already engaged a consultant to redesign IFMIS to ensure it is the one-stop shop for all government entities. This will include the integration of all other systems with the IFMIS, which include payroll, pensions, EGP, e-citizen, and county government revenue systems. All will be integrated in the IFMIS. The consultant is already on site for the reengineering, which is expected to go live on 1st July 2026. And Chairman, I just want to mention that these things are not happening at the same time. You will find some are a step ahead of the rest. Like integration of payroll is something that we are implementing this month. We are actually integrating our payroll system. We are also integrating pension system. It is already underway. Even EGP is underway. Now, on assets and liabilities, there are 17 categories of assets and 9 categories of liabilities that we want, and that will be seen in the revised chart of accounts. So, key issues. Entities are required to maintain updated fixed asset registers in the IFMIS asset repository module. 2, boards of survey are mandated to validate assets by 30th June 2025, and it is expected that they have done that. All financial assets and liabilities must be recognized in the opening balances as at 1st July 2024, and that happened. An asset valuation framework has been developed and is undergoing public participation. You know, this is another challenge that we've had, actually, to really get to know the value of assets, even the land that the government owns. It's guesswork a lot of the time. And if we have to value it, you have to spend so much money in doing the valuation. And this, with this system, will be cured. On training and sensitization, the steering committee has undertaken stakeholder mapping that includes all preparers of financial statements and users of the same. These include all national and county government entities. We are also dealing with oversight bodies, including internal and external auditors are being trained. PFM officers are also being trained. The national and county assemblies committees, including this committee, we are mapping out program on training and sensitization. So, during the year ending 30th June 2025, the National Treasury and the Public Sector Accounting Standards Board held several training sessions with preparers of financial statements, internal and external auditors, PFM officers, and accounting officers. All have been trained. And this financial year, the National Treasury will now hold sensitization training with all oversight bodies, including this committee. On communication, the steering committee has been providing regular updates and guidelines on the transition process through the following mediums of communication: circulars. We have been issuing circulars, dedicated website, as I mentioned earlier, social media pages for quick updates. We can't do without social media anymore. It's the order of the day. Emails, posting of guidance materials through a dedicated website, and as I told you, in the desk of our Director General Accounting Services and Quality Assurance, print media also, and newsletter and publication. So, as I conclude, Chairman and honorable members, significant progress has been made in institutionalizing accrual accounting, including the establishment of governance frameworks, stakeholder training, and interim reporting mechanisms. However, of course, as is the challenge with all government programs, adequate funding is needed, compliance by implementing entities, and enhanced technical capacity remain critical to meeting the set timelines. So the National Treasury remains committed to achieving full compliance with the International Public Sector Accounting Standards accrual basis by 30th June 2027. Regular updates will be provided to this committee, and again, I want to repeat as I wind up that I am very confident that the steering committee would be willing to appear before you, led by the chairperson or the chairman, who is my PS in charge of National Treasury, to explain further the technical details around this system or migrating to this system. Thank you, Chairman, and that is my submission.
Thank you, CS. We were concerned that the Cabinet made a resolution on 7th of March 2024, and the steering committee was only gazetted on 20th of August 2024. And I think you have said that this was one of your first actions when you took office. I think there was a period where we were very, very concerned that a steering committee was not in place or a steering committee had not been gazetted, but we take note that it has been in office now for the last probably 1 year. Almost 1 year. In the next few months, we'll be considering reports from county governments prepared on accrual basis. As I said earlier, over the last 10 years, we have been used to the statements prepared on cash basis. Now, the Auditor General, if this is a transition that runs all the way to 30th of June 2027, are we going to expect a lot of adverse opinions or disclaimers in the first year? Because the issue of assets and liabilities has not been settled. It has been a long process, and CS, you might recall that at some point, the CS National Treasury then gazetted county directed counties to establish county asset and liability verification committees. And each county government did a very comprehensive report. These reports were then submitted, I believe, to IBEC. Now, from IBEC, we don't seem to have closure on the issue of assets and liabilities of county governments. So perhaps it might be a different framework for national government, but for county governments, there's a serious concern. We have 47 reports. Some of these reports, when a new governor is elected, they come before this committee and they disown the report. And we tell them that this verification, there has to be closure. You have to draw a line in the sand and agree that these are our assets and agree that these are our liabilities. The governors have not done a good job, and every time they say that the matter is stuck in IBEC. So maybe from the Auditor General's perspective, do we expect a lot of disclaimers, adverse? And then to the CS, what is the status of the asset and liability reports that were submitted to IBEC? Starting with Patrick.
Thank you, Chairman. From our end, initially there was worry that we'll have issues with the opening balances because of the transition. But I can see the CS has really given guidance on how we proceed from the start, because you can see for the year ended 2025, they have requested that the entities prepare an opening statement of.
Are the counties really prepared for this? Because that will be the starting point. And if they are not prepared, the question Chair is asking is going to happen. So have you established that the counties are ready now to take off from what you have actually established? Thank you.
Yes.
Chair, you'll allow me to begin from where you started, asking about the inordinate delay. And I want to address you by stating that when I'm sure you watched my vetting, and there's things that I committed myself to. One is this accrual basis of accounting. I also talked about zero-based budgeting. I talked about e-procurement, and I'm committed that we must deliver on this. So I found the government already had started or rolled out a program for this. So what I've done is to help it move further, and that is why it was one of the decisions that I took to roll out by gazetting the steering committee in August. On the issue before us, that you see, the auditors, whether we are expecting adverse reports in the first year, I don't think so, because one, the auditors audit based on policy of the government. We have decided to take advantage of the exemptions provided through the international standards, accounting standards, that we are rolling out this program in 3 years. So we started with the easier ones. Where there will be much complication is the fixed assets. Financial assets, usually, there is no much complication in terms of even valuing, because the values are there. So the financial assets are easy to determine their value. And financial liabilities. That is why we, in the first year, we have restricted ourselves only to having financial assets and financial liabilities. Then we move to the second year or second transition, where besides the financial assets and financial liabilities, we are bringing in inventories. And inventories also are easy to tabulate, because inventories are goods that are acquired or procured within the year. And they have not been utilized. So they remain as stock. If you are in business, they would be stock of trade or stock in trade. So that will be that. Now the final year is where now we have to roll it out fully and bring in the elephant in the room, which is the fixed assets and long-term liabilities that would be difficult to quickly determine. And so the understanding here is that within this period up to 30th of June 2027, we are able to have a system where we are going to determine the value of all assets, both for national government and county government, the fixed assets. And you have asked a specific question, and that ties to what Senator Dulo has asked, whether county governments will be ready. We are preparing them to be ready to be able to determine and get these values. And again, you are right that there is the valuation committees, the asset valuation and liabilities valuation committees have been working on this. But we feel that time is enough for us to be able to determine. And by the way, counties should even find it easier to determine their fixed assets unless the assets that were handed over by the national government, which will go through the same valuation process as national government assets. But counties acquiring new fixed assets, they should find it easier because at least these were not acquired long ago. Counties have not been in existence for far too long. National government would even be worse because if you go to even the government buildings, some of them were built in pre-colonial period. And so determining their value may be very complicated. But still, we feel that period is sufficient enough. Finally, Chair, on the issue of counties disputing and rejecting what others have done before, I think this is something that we must deal with because governments are in perpetuity. And the idea that you are elected today to take up an office does not render those who were in that office before you and the decisions that they took illegal as such. So we need just to respect that governments run and people, the various officers take up positions which others have been occupying, including the office that I today hold. Other 17 Kenyans since independence have occupied this office and they have made decisions. I must also respect those decisions within the law. Only decisions that are taken outside the law I would not follow. So I hope that addresses the question of the preparedness of counties. We are still preparing them and we feel the time that we have between now and 30th of June 2027 is sufficient enough for us to be able to have this system now fully operational.
Okay, note the Director General Accounting Services is a project manager within the steering committee, and I hope there's a proper matrix for stakeholder engagement, because we didn't have to be the ones to call the CS for us to have this conversation. I don't know what the plan is. When did the steering committee plan to engage Parliament? Because already counties are reporting on this standard, and in the next couple of months we'll be receiving these reports. As per the original plan, what was the intention to engage Parliament?
Chair, I may just take note of that as a concern from the committee so that we fast track, but I'm aware that the plan was to have it this year. So what we may need to do is to front load or rather bring forward the engagement with the parliamentary committees, especially the relevant ones, so that you can appreciate this system even as we start reporting on accrual basis. Actually, the first year will not be very complicated because it's just reporting on financial assets and financial liabilities, which are very easy to determine, and their values can easily be ascertained even in the market.
Yeah, you'll appreciate that over the years we have not been looking at the balance sheet in this committee. So it will be the first time the balance sheet will be presented. And so even in the private sector, whenever IFRS is updated, the boards, corporate boards are updated to anticipate the changes. This Public Accounts Committee is like the corporate board for government entities. So that engagement needs to be timely, and it does not need to be prompted by Parliament. I think if you've got a matrix for communication, please ensure that you implement it. We will request that the Clerk of the Senate and the Parliamentary Budget Office, which I can see has a seat in the steering committee, so that who represents PBO in the steering committee?
Chair, I'm not sure, but I think it's Director PBO.
Fine. So we can have an internal technical conversation with the project manager so that it prompts the next round of interaction with the CS. You can flag the issues that have been
I'm told it's called Joash Kusimba, the representative. You know him?
Yes.
The representative from PBO.
Fine. So we can have some in-house technical conversation and flag the concerns that exist, if any, and then that can prompt our next interaction. Senator Cherargei, please go on record.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning. Waziri, it's good to see you. Cherargei Kiprotich, Senator of the Republic of Kenya from Nandi County.
Yeah, allow me to voice something that Senator Dulo has brought before the House. CS Article 225 gives you certain powers that gives you some original jurisdiction that even Parliament does not have. That is authority to stop the transfer of funds to a state organ or any other public entity for serious material breaches or persistent material breaches of the measures established under that legislation. Now, the legislation has defined persistent material breaches in various ways. For example, a county entity that has persistent adverse opinions. You recall, I think Nairobi County, for almost 10 years, had adverse opinions. Kisumu County also was in a similar situation. This committee has made certain recommendations, and some of the recommendations border on calling upon the CS to exercise the power under Article 225. We are very careful with 225 because when you make that decision, it needs to be ratified by Parliament. And so we cannot be the ones to originate it, to initiate it. Now, CS, you understand what happens in counties, and you understand some of the accountability concerns. Part of it, pending bills that remain unsettled for a long time. Of course, in year one, we expect that financial assets and financial liabilities will be reported. And that means that counties must figure out their stock of pending bills. What CS Ukuri Yatani tried it. He brought a resolution, he brought a motion or proposed a motion, and I think it was defeated in Parliament to stop the transfer of funds to a number of county governments because of, was it Nyeri? Yeah, Nyeri has done fairly well, but there are some counties with huge amounts, which then even kills your economic plan, economic thinking. Because if you are not paying contractors and the small service providers, perhaps the distaste and dislike of government is as a result of incompetence and inefficiencies at the local government level. So what are your thoughts on this? Because we really would wish to stop the flow of funds to some counties. But the Constitution gives you that original jurisdiction. CS.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, first I will agree with you that a lot of happenings in the counties need serious attention and need to be punished, and at times a reprimand is required because some of them is just kind of misbehavior, if I may, for lack of better words, on the part of county governments, where you find they even requisition to pay X and end up using the same and applying it and paying Y, and for reasons you don't understand, and keeping some of the pending bills longer than necessary. Although, again, there's a caveat that even national government, MDAs, also chair, I know you engage a lot with counties, but even the national government, and I've sat and chaired Public Accounts Committee, you find new bills or new debts paid and old ones are skipped. And that is why we have some debts dating to 2005 called pending bills dating to 2005, and now we are paying them, we are looking for money to pay them, yet there are some services that were offered last year and they have been paid and others like that. So this needs to be dealt with, and I agree with you that Article 225 gives my office powers to deal with some of these errant officers and counties. But again, my understanding of this article, Chair, is that you must exercise it as a last resort and cautiously so. Why? Because when you stop transfers to counties, in a sense, you are not just even punishing the county government or the governor, but the whole county will suffer. There will be no services. And there are even staff in that county who, for some reason, have found themselves as employees of that county. And it is a lot of times not their mistakes. When you stop the funding, they will not get their salaries. And they also have the children, they have people who depend on them. So it is, I would say, a power that comes with the responsibility. You have to really be cautious. I know Senator Dulo submitted this request and it was transacted in my ministry. I know I signed off declining to stop transfers to Isiolo County. I think I'm correct. But my thinking is we should exploit and exhaust all the avenues to deal with some of these misapplication, mismanagement of public resources. And that is why we are coming up with systems that would deter some, like the issue of paying, requisitioning and paying different providers, avoiding and all that is being dealt with. The system we are, and I think we are implementing it this month. It may be very difficult now for counties. You see, the work, my primary responsibility as Cabinet Secretary is to come up with systems that would help stop some of this mismanagement of public funds. The other organs will deal with violation, starting with the Auditor General. Starting with control of budget, there is the Auditor General, we have ESCC, and I'm happy ESCC is in the room. We have DCI, all these officers are also put in by law to deal with the failure to comply. But it is my duty to prescribe systems that would help deter, and that is what I'm doing. So to get to the specific question, yes, I can apply this article, but I am also trying to be very cautious, because otherwise unintended consequences may be realized out of a very noble action.
Senator Dulo?
You wanted to say?
Yeah.
Thank you, CS. Of course, my county has been facing a lot of challenges, apart from what you have mentioned. My request then was during the impeachment process. And I hope you understand the way counties deviate a budget allocated to them, even salary and development, for other purposes that they are not intended for. And nobody actually takes action against those counties. As you've said, sometimes we end up punishing members of public by doing that. But the challenge is, how do we stop these issues? For example, you have mentioned about voiding. You've seen some contracts that are done yesterday are paid. And there are some that have been there over 10 years ago are left pending, which is also accruing interest. For example, I have an issue with the budget currently happening in Isiolo County for this financial year, where members of public and the assembly have gone to court. Two people sit, a clerk and a speaker who is actually even being challenged. We have apparently two speakers. Yeah? One who has imposed himself on the assembly through crook methods, that up to now DCI is actually giving a position. A clerk and a speaker sit in a chamber where members are not even there. They sign a budget, approving the budget, without going to public participation, without committee being there, and force the deputy speaker to sign that particular budget. It goes to, government printer, appropriation bill is actually approved. How can you deal with that kind of a county? It's challenging. Because even if you are supposed to be cautious, this is a serious fraud, serious corruption that is happening within that particular institution. And that is why the Senate is actually frustrated. We say something must be done, in as much as we don't actually punish the communities living within those counties. We must do something. But I think the way things are, even with the allocation of budget where counties don't have challenges, there is a serious problem as far as budgeting is concerned. Money changing hands left, right, and center. HR procedures not being followed. The law is the same. You see, money not utilized in a proper manner. it's quite challenging. But I think maybe you need to open up that particular provision to see how you can be able to stretch and deal with the current happenings within our counties. But even if you said no, I think members of Parliament have gone to court and they have stopped that particular budget. Because we must deal with those crooks who sit and do those kind of things. I thank you.
You want to tie your question to that? Or you want the CS to respond? CS?
Yeah, Chair, in response, I want to just say two things. One, I agree that I think this article was not just provided for in the Constitution in vain. It must have a meaning. And it's something that I must engage my mind to in applying so that we protect public funds, because this is taxpayers' money at stake. But I also want to agree with you, Chair. There are two ways of killing devolution. Two ways through which we can kill devolution. One is allowing the governance challenges that we see in counties to continue, because they are serious and they are dire. Counties must be called back to order a lot of times, because a lot of things that they are doing cannot be accepted, like what Senator Dulo is talking about. Why is it that politics is everywhere, even at the national government level? Why is it that we can have a speaker of the National Assembly go through the term without much problems, Senate the same? And counties is turmoil all over, across the country. Our county, where both of you and I come from, last term, last parliament, it was a mess. You'd not even understand, differentiate the county assembly from a theater of fights. It was always fights, people getting injured, MCS, and those things are happening, partly engineered by county executives. And so it is such a mess. And as you put it, sometimes you don't even know who is the speaker. The other thing that I want to mention also, which tied to the first reason why counties would fail and will kill devolution, is where we allow the governance system that we have today to persist and continue with the things that they do, including financial management. And I say, as you call for more resources, we should call for more accountability. And besides that, and beyond that, is also the question of even employment. Our counties' employment bureaus. And I'm even thinking maybe there should be a suggestion that most of these offices, chairman, should be tied to 5 years term of a governor. Because you find a governor employs ward administrators, sub-county administrators, and village administrators. When a new governor comes in, removes all those people, put them in some directorate, doing nothing, earning salary, which they were earning when they were sub-county and ward administrators, and employs new ones. And employs director of ward, director of border, director of fisheries, director of what, and you even ask yourself what is the value that these people add. And so what happens is we are denied services as people who come from these counties. So that is one way that we must deal with. And where need be, we can apply Article 225. I guarantee that. Finally, the other way of killing devolution is if we recklessly allow the national government to step in and interfere with the counties. And it can happen. And it has happened previously. We had a devolved system of government, chairman, and it was killed. So the national government must exercise caution. And you and I and the Senator Sifuna here, we come from a political party which has prided itself as defenders and protectors of devolution. It would be wrong for me to sit at the National Treasury and be accused of working towards killing devolution and killing county government. And that is why I have to exercise caution in applying this article, so that I don't show the thirst of just, okay, one county, there are challenges, there are reports of misappropriation, no more funding. And you know, it is very easy for me because it gives me space and breathing space. Because when I don't transfer money to county, to Homa Bay, for example, that I'm not required now because of the constrained exchequer availability. I would be very glad not to transfer. But
remember,
who is benefiting?
It's at least 50% would still go to the county. Yes. And it's for a maximum of 60 days.
Yes.
And you see the beauty, and that's why we want you to, as you've said, apply your mind to it, is that part of it is that the county must come up with a recovery plan. You are compelling the county to come up with a recovery plan within the 60 days. So it's not indefinite. And that's what some counties need. We have what we call the list of shame. About 10 counties where their wage bill is 50% and above. I think our county, Homa Bay, is almost at 55%. Kisii is almost at that level. So you'll find a county where the wage bill is above 50%. It has had either an adverse opinion or a disclaimer, and it has serious audit issues, procurement, financial management issues. If we were to develop a matrix and put all this together, it would then allow you to step in not to kill, but stepping in almost like an administrator to compel the county to come up with a clear plan that would then be, I think, addressed, control of budget. You've got a role in that, in making sure that there's a proper recovery plan. And sometimes that's what some of these counties need, because primary oversight has died across the counties. The county assemblies are completely incapable of holding their governors to account. When we bring the governors here, we are doing secondary oversight. We don't have an insight or input on their budgeting, on their procurement, on their spending, on their appointments. We are, what do you call those doctors who Johnson would work? Yeah, we are morticians. We are morticians. And yet the public will tell me in my county that you are not correcting the government of their misdeeds. And yet that is a primary responsibility of the county assembly. So that's the frustration that brings us to this thinking that there are some counties where we need to put under administration for 60 days. And I want to encourage you to apply your mind to it, because it is not necessarily killing devolution, but the corruption and the bad behaviors in county governments, some which are led by governors from the party that Senator Sifuna comes from, is an embarrassment.
Correct. Chair, in fact, that's the part of the provisions that I wanted to point the CS to. And the other attribute of a party that I come from is that we like to take bold action. CS, just for the sake of the frustration of the Senate, just give us one county. But you see, I'm also wondering how this will work, because you've also been accused as a ministry. They say that the National Treasury thinks that it is a treasury for the national government, that you prioritize national government. Can you tell us, for instance, sitting here today, whether you ever comply with the disbursement schedule that is passed by the Senate? What is the most current disbursement now? You see, Chair, that this particular mechanism would only work where the National Treasury is actually complying with what is it called, the disbursement schedule. So if you are telling governors you'll punish them for 2 months, and they are saying the last disbursement you have said is for which month are we on? In August, they'll tell you the last money they got is for May. Then how will this mechanism come in, CS? So personally, I just wanted to let you know that personally I'm very happy with the move to the accrual basis, because the CS knows that I'm also an accounting officer, I'm audited, and the Auditor General has been giving me grief because they see the money that the National Treasury owes my political party, and they don't want me to put it there. That the National Treasury owes me 11 billion Kenyan shillings as ODM. But I'm happy now. My finance manager, who's your friend, the Honorable Kawino, will have an easier time. It's the only query that the auditors raise, that we budget for money on the expectation of the law. On the expectation of the law. We have court orders from here to Timbuktu. But the National Treasury and Parliament have refused to comply with those court orders. So I'm happy that when we move to this new system of accounting, we will not get the grief that we usually get from the Auditor General. But that is the question you need to think about. If we do not comply with the disbursement schedule, then this mechanism cannot really help, because the governor will say that is the norm anyway. That is the norm anyway. So maybe you can think about that. But from our perspective as a Senate, we need that list of shame that he's talking about. We need that list of shame so that people can know that there are mechanisms in the Constitution to be able to deal with these issues. Lastly, Honorable Chair, the National Treasury is also accused that in my county here in Nairobi, although we have the largest number of pending bills, the national government owes us a lot of money that you just refuse to pay the county. It is very difficult, Honorable Mbadi. You have cited two ways of killing devolution, but you've left the main one out. The main one is we need to properly fund our counties. National government institutions have refused to pay Nairobi County what is due and owing to the county government of Nairobi. If you paid us our money, we would be able to take care of those pending bills for as long as we have an administration that cares about the people of Nairobi. So maybe think about those, Waziri, as well.
So you, in accordance with this transition, it means that in this financial year, you'll be reflecting financial assets as ODM of 11 billion.
Correct.
And this Treasury will have to pay.
They will have to pay. You know, Chair, in fact, I want the CS to know that I am going to initiate recovery proceedings. So if you see me obtaining orders for your detention, don't think it is political. I just need that money, and you know why I need that money.
It will be entirely professional and technical.
Correct.
CS, I think the first part was how timely are we? Because if you're holding disbursements for 60 days, then you can only do that in a regime where you are timely in your disbursements.
Thank you. Chair, I will address this, but allow me to start with what my Secretary General says about my possible detention. And just also to own up and say that if there's one thing that I pushed with the finger, probably even harder than the SG when I was his chairman for 10 years, was allocating the resources that are statutorily provided for political parties. And that, up to now, is something that is not happening, largely because of financial challenges. But the money owed to any political party will now be a clear debt recognized in books. And so it will no longer be an audit query. And we will do whatever we can to try to make sure that money goes to political parties, because our constitution makes Kenya a multi-party democracy. And political parties' position in our democratic space cannot be overemphasized. And as someone who has been in party leadership for all that time, it is something that I would not shy away from repeating, that we must try to work on. So I hope, my Secretary General, you will not implement your, is it a threat? But I would understand.
As long as it's done through the proper justice and legal systems,
Yes.
because I know he has a group of goons that can detain you at short notice.
No, the advantage I have is over 90% of those goons are my friends.
You are completely out of order for...
Yeah, but anyway.
Chair.
Now, can I then proceed and address these other issues? Because I think that has...
Okay.
There are other issues that were raised.
Yeah.
Then I could address them quickly. On the issue of disbursement, Chair, I cannot sit here and misreport that government has been timely and effective in releasing funds to counties, just like other government departments have been affected sometimes with the cash crunch, so counties have been. And I will tell you that at times counties get even better favorable treatment from the National Treasury than other MDAs and other spending units of government. And that is also because the county government is a bit unique in the way they are structured, because if you don't give them money, you are like shutting their doors and closing them completely. So a lot of efforts have to be made. But I would also pride myself here and give and say that this government has been very responsive in terms of addressing the cash challenges to counties. Why do I say so? I remember last year, last financial year, apart from the arrears that were carried forward from 2023 to 2024, 2023, 2024, there was carryover to July 2024, which is 2024-2025, the year that just ended. There was a carryover of about 31 billion. That's the amount that was paid in July. After that, it almost took us to October to again give money to counties because of the division of revenue and county allocation of revenue bill, which delayed. And this has been the practice, Chair. And there is no single year for a very long time when the government of Kenya, national government, has, through the National Treasury, has transferred full allocation for the year to the counties. But I must be with confidence and happiness, I would say that 2024-2025 was a different year. That by 30th of June 2025, we not only transferred all the allocations for 2024-25 to the counties by 26th of June, but that even the arrears for 2023-24 was paid of 31 billion in that year. So we paid all the 387 billion allocation plus the arrears that were carried forward. Now, that was done. In fact, the May transfer was done on 19th of June, and the June transfer, the June 2025 allocation was transferred on 26th of June. Now, even though we don't still have County Allocation of Revenue Act in place, which I think National Assembly, I don't know whether they passed it yesterday or they're passing it today.
I think we have processed CARA.
The Senate has done with it. Is done with it.
Because the beauty is that this year DORA was approved on 30th of June, so there was no delay on DORA, but on CARA.
CARA is in the National Assembly, the Senate, I'm aware. Actually, I think they indicated yesterday, I listened to National Assembly, they said they will pass it today, I think. Now, DORA, again, was passed quickly, Chair, and you'll agree now I can disclose that we had an engagement, the Senate leadership, National Assembly, and the Treasury. And we agreed that there is no need to fight. I mean, we are serving the same people. And when a proposal was put to the National Treasury to increase by 10 billion, I accepted on behalf of the National Treasury in consultation with the government. And so we quickly agreed, and in a record, for so many years now, we haven't had division of revenue bill being assented to before 30th of June. Now, this year, so I was saying, even without CARA, I've already given instruction to my team. On Monday, latest Tuesday next week, we are going to transfer the July allocation to counties in full to all the 47 counties. And so then we will now remain with August, which we are still in August today. But I want to commit here before the people of Kenya.
Senator Sifuna, what are you whispering?
I'm saying now, that sounds like us.
Us who?
As ODM.
That's a very rare compliment, so that's why I wanted it to be.
I'm happy. We are gradually moving towards, with my SG, towards him understanding what the expert they sent to the Treasury has been able to achieve. I think he has taken a bit of time really to appreciate this, but he's appreciating it, and I thank him. Now, so I want to commit here to the people of Kenya that the July allocation to counties, all the 47, will go latest Tuesday next week. And Chair, by the way, last financial year, we even cleared transfers to CDF in full, including the arrears of 13 billion from the previous year. Finally, even the pensions, even for women reps or the GAF was transferred in full, including the pension claims that came to Treasury, we processed and cleared. Now, on the issue of list of shame, I take note. I think I'm going to, as I said, I'm going to engage our minds more as Treasury on application of 225 of the Constitution Article 225 of the Constitution, on how to deal with some of these counties which have persistently refused to follow the law in financial management. Finally, on Nairobi County, I want to agree. I think we must now, unfortunately, Senator Sifuna, through the chair, I've tried to engage. You know, we did commission from the report of the Senate, your sister committee, chaired by Honorable Sotsi. We constituted a team that looked into this, especially pending bills relating to pension schemes. And Nairobi County is a big culprit at over 100 billion owed. And Mombasa County at 28 billion. The others are about $1 billion or less, but not to say that they also don't owe money. Now, I've tried to engage, we've sat with Mombasa County, and I wanted also to meet Nairobi County. Somehow it has been difficult. The governor sent his officers, but I thought if I have to engage, I need to engage with the governor because the buck stops with him. So once we get this engagement, we are going to agree. In fact, there are a lot of proposals. I don't know whether this report has come to the Senate, but it will come if it hasn't come. There are a lot of proposals how to deal with these amounts owing. The national government is owing, the counties is owing the national government. We need to find a way of settling them in a way that both parties benefit.
Yes, just confirm, the report is already ready on those proposals of dealing with those pending bills. Is the report ready? I heard you.
The report is actually has been submitted to me.
Oh, okay.
Yes, then, the report of the committee, and which will find its way to the Senate if it has not.
Okay.
I'll just work with my team. It's a very comprehensive report. They did a good job. And so we need to tie it up. So first I'll meet with the Nairobi County because it's the biggest culprit here. We engage and see how the national government can make good what we owe the counties and vice versa, so that this problem does not persist. So that is what I would say, not to deny that national government is also not only, we owe the money. You see what happened also between the Kenya Power and Lighting with Nairobi County. We don't want such kind of scenes to happen in a country where we pride ourselves as civilized as Kenya. So I think those are the issues that were raised, Chair.
Okay, just to allow us to prosecute the last question, Senator Dulo, Senator Cherargei, your final comments on this, then we go to the next.
Chair, let me say that it's good that CS is here so that we can share our frustration as a Senate with you. Sometimes you don't sit where we sit, and there are a lot of challenges in the counties. And I think maybe you need to look at Article 225 and see how you can operationalize, because there are a lot of challenges on the ground. For example, counties going 3-4 months without even paying salary. I mean, it's unacceptable. Arrangements must be made on how these people salary should be made. Of course, you have said that you have settled much of the pending budget for counties, but it is still happening. There are salaries that have not been paid for 2 months, 3 months. These are people who are paying rent. They have kids going to school. I mean, it doesn't augur well, because sometimes the budget is actually diverted elsewhere. Number two, Chair, the concerns of revenue collected at the county level. You must do something, Chair, CS. Because there are counties that have refused to automate revenue. It's being collected cash. It's being shared even on the streets. Something has to be done, because the budget collected on the ground, it's actually complementing what you are doing, and it will ease some of the challenges that the counties and also national government is facing. So you need to sit, of course, some of the people in Treasury say that we don't want to interfere with the counties. But you have to interfere, because that budget belongs to members of public. It's taxpayers' money. Something has to be done. So that is the other challenge. Number three, Chair, I don't know whether the new system has operationalized on how approvals are done at COB, and IFMIS can be able to see what has been approved, because that is where there is a big challenge Because if IFMIS doesn't see what has been approved, so the counties end up actually voiding what has been approved by the controller of budget. So I think, CS, you have a lot in your plate. But since you really understand these issues, having in Parliament and also now at the executive level, there's so much challenge that is happening within the counties. We make a lot of noise as a Senate, but things are not moving. For example, the county I come from, the person who claims to be a speaker, a second speaker, he's the one approving the budget at the same time. It's even indicated in your letter. How can somebody claim a speaker at the same time he's with the executive approving the budget? And a communication comes from a senator. Central Bank says we have no communication to that effect. Up to now, he's the one approving the budget, and he claims to be a speaker. I mean, something has to be done. And that is why I'm saying Article 225 has to be operationalized in ensuring counties are actually disciplined, because a lot of money is being lost in those counties, and members of public are really suffering. No service delivery that is taking place. Thank you.
Actually, CS, today we are talking more about standards, but I think we must set up another appointment to talk about systems. In your budget speech, you referred to quite a number of systems that were supposed to be implemented, e-procurement. I think there were the automation of personnel and payroll. We must go towards e-government. If you are implementing the manifesto of Sifuna's party and my party, we want efficiency in government, and that efficiency can only be achieved through automation. You have the power, again, you as the National Treasury, to prescribe standards and also to prescribe systems. And the question we have been asking governors is, fine, they have accepted IFMIS, prescribed by the National Treasury. They have accepted IPPD, and IPPD, I think, sits in the Public Service Ministry. But when it comes to revenue systems, that is where they draw the line. That is where they say that they are governments, that they have the power to source their own systems. And we know how these systems work. They are backdoors, they are loopholes, they are custodial accounts that sometimes are used to launder and siphon money. So we must have that conversation. In the last government, the National Treasury, I think, attempted to come up with a unified revenue collection system for county governments. I don't know whether that's part of your key priorities and whether some progress has been made on it. So it is something that we can have a substantive meeting on, so that we frame our questions, unless you have a quick answer on the integrated revenue collection system across counties. If not, then we can set a separate appointment. As you think through, Senator Cherargei?
Wazir, mine is, I've seen in your response on evaluation and monitoring, especially on conditional grants. We have seen a number of counties.
Sorry, Senator, we were to go to the second question, question. So we were still dealing with the standards and the transition.
Okay, let me, on the issue of standards, as Chair, you have pointed out, there is this aspect, and I know my colleagues said about voiding of payments. When we met the controller of budget, she was saying that, I don't know what the Ministry of Treasury is doing, because CRF accounts are with you, especially on requisitions from county governments. Controller of budget sometimes approves some of these requisitions, but towards the IB or internet banking and payment of suppliers of goods and services to counties, the COB was complaining that they no longer have a view. There is a veil of mystery where they can't track. So in your opinion, having sat as the Minister of National Treasury and Planning, what should be the way forward, especially, I think, Chair, we have been thinking through about having a legislative intervention or policy to ensure if requisition is made by CCM Finance, for example, to pay Y, that Y is paid. Because we know counties along the way, they disappear and pay X. So the question is, what should we do to ensure that COB has powers, or what is the Ministry of National Treasury doing to keep in view? And finally, on 225, Waziri, I agree with you largely. In conclusion, Chair, because we are divided. If you stop funds to come to Nandi County, are you punishing the governor who has salary, who has a car, who has money? Or are you punishing somebody who would go to Kapsabet County Referral Hospital to seek treatment? So I think that's a very dicey situation, and I agree with you that that should be the last resort. In any case, the EACC and DCI should be punishing more these individuals who are doing financial misappropriation of county funds. We should not remove that knife at all, in my own opinion, for the sake of the people, because you don't need to isikue ile msemo wa Kiswahili wanasema mtego wa panya huingia waliokuwemo na wasiokuwemo ama walioenda. I don't know whether that Chair, I'm not, I don't know whether that was, but I hope you understand the concept. Otherwise, you are doing a good job, and thank you for implementing the broad-based manifesto. You are not implementing the ODM manifesto. The broad-based. Thank you.
The minute Cherargei takes the microphone, then controversy begins.
And Chair, that is why I want to request that I make just one comment and allow me to leave the meeting to Cherargei.
The meeting belongs to Public Accounts Committee.
Yes, yes.
But just so that we don't have these exchanges, we were having a very constructive engagement with Waziri. I just want to say, Waziri, that I like the answers that you've provided. There's a ray of hope that a few things might happen. I am happy you have said that you are ready as a ministry to engage with the Nairobi County government, and I want to give an assurance that I will get the message to the governor that he needs to sit down with you to have that conversation. This is the biggest headache in the city. I don't understand why he would not avail himself for such an important conversation. I have already actually sent him a message to tell him that it is unacceptable that he would miss such important conversations with the National Treasury. CS, I want to request that as a Senate, we need also to be given our space. Invite us to those meetings as well. In fact, if that report is ready as soon as it is, I would want that, I know there would be processes for you to get it to Parliament, but there is no harm, because we are the biggest problem, as you have identified as Nairobi. I would be more than glad to have that report, to see the proposals that you've made, and sometimes to just even highlight and give them prominence so that we can solve the problems for the people of Nairobi. But Chair, if that is the direction that the ministry is taking, I think they can, I can see some light at the end of the tunnel for the problems in Nairobi. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I must also say that I've chaired this committee for a long time, and the CSS for National Treasury have been very uncooperative. Senator Dulo, you and I have been in this committee for the longest period, and it has been very difficult to get the CS National Treasury before this committee, because their mind is the National Assembly that approves their budgets. But you see, devolution is not just about counties. It has to be a balance between county governments and national governments. We are still a unitary state. So to that extent, CS, even though we had two missed dates, I must put it on record that we are happy that you've appeared before this committee. We will not be calling you for frivolous issues, because we know how busy your schedule is. But I think that at least on a quarterly basis, we need to engage. You have a representative who sits in this committee, Dr. Ndongo, and I believe he will be able to relay some of the resolutions from this committee. But at least once every quarter, we need to touch base so that we are sure that we are on the right path. On the list of shame, we will help you, PBO. We can do our own analysis and present the counties that we consider to be persistently and materially breaching the Constitution, the PFM. And then we can have a conversation, CS, so that you are also not accused of overreach. Let it be some conversation that has been prompted by the reports of the Auditor General, control of budget and resolutions of Parliament.
Chair, I don't know why you are
That can put in a good
suggesting
position.
another report. We did a very good report on the fiduciary risk exposure. I think we can just start there.
Yeah, we can just extract.
We can just extract
it
yeah.
because it already had the list of shame. Now, CS, you could respond to Senator Cherargei, and then we get to the final question, which will not take us more than 15 minutes.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, again, I want to point out that my office and my ministry, we are willing and ready to engage. Actually, it is a constitutional responsibility to appear before the Houses of Parliament and offer accountability for the use of public resources, because these are not our resources, these are resources that belong to the people of Kenya. And as people's representatives, you have a duty under Article 94, 5 and 6 of our Constitution to hold us to account. And I want to report, Chair, that I've actually appeared before committees of the Senate more than of the National Assembly. And I've also appeared more in the plenary of the Senate. Actually, apart from the budget speech that I read on 12th of June, I've only appeared once in the plenary of the National Assembly, but I've appeared about 4 or 5 times, I think 5 times if I'm not wrong, before the Senate. That tells you that, to me, I am blind to whatever difference would be between the two houses, because the two houses have a constitutional mandate to hold us accountable. On Article 225, I think we have agreed that this is something that I'm going to exercise my mind to, and if there is any report that you have which will be of help, as Senator Sifuna has rightly put it, then we could start from there and act, so that as we shy away from, appear or to be shying away from taking decisions that we think would hurt the public, but we probably could be hurting the public more when their resources are misappropriated or misapplied. On the issues that have been raised, now let me go straight to the systems and to enhance efficiency in government. I want to point out that on this matter of own source revenue, it's a serious matter of concern to me and to the ministry. And there are 2 areas to it. One is that we have fragmented systems of accounting for revenue that is raised in the counties as own source revenue. And we want to have an integrated system. Already there is a circular number 3 of 2024, which was issued by the National Treasury, or that my ministry issued. And we are rolling out the integrated county revenue management system. It is going to replace these fragmented county revenue management systems. Already we have discussed this at IBEC. I know there's been pushback, of course, as expected from the governors and the counties and the Council of Government. I think we are trying now to be clearer. We are getting where we are clear. I think it was just misunderstanding this, because we can't have 47, 48 systems in a country dealing with the revenue collection. We should have at most 2 or 3. So we will have an integrated county revenue management system. It's already in progress. We are also alive to the second problem, which is overestimation of own source revenue, which is causing the pending bills in the counties, because own source revenue has been used as a balancing figure in our books. And by the way, even national government, actually they have borrowed this bad practice from the national government, where we were over-projecting our revenue. Our revenue ceased to be a realistic revenue projection based on economic fundamentals, but rather we look at what we want to do in the year, and then we ask how much would we be raising from external financiers and how much can we realistically raise from domestic borrowing, and then the remaining amount we say we will collect this much. And then you find KRA not collecting. This financial year, Chair, it would interest you to note that we were very realistic on our revenue projection for ordinary revenue, to the extent for the first time we were below the projection by the Parliamentary Budget Office, PBO. National Treasury had a lower figure, and we stuck to that lower figure because we don't want to overestimate revenue. The same must happen with counties, and so we are coming up. We are developing two revenue models. That is, the first one is what we call own source revenue based elasticity model, and the centered moving average model. This will help in protecting us from projecting unrealistic revenue. So we are giving these models to the counties, and whatever we are doing, Chair, and I want to agree with you, much as we say that counties are independent, etc., but the Constitution gives the National Treasury the responsibility of designing financial management systems. So it doesn't just say that we design those systems for national government. It includes even the county government. But the only thing that we have been trying also to do is not to just come up with systems and tell counties, use them. We want to be as inclusive, as participatory as possible. We want to get the involvement of the country so that they can buy in, because a system can also be frustrated if you give it to users who don't want to use it. So that is what we are trying to work around. Otherwise, this will cure the issue of the view of the COB failing to have a view. We are coming up with, actually we are putting a system which will be rolled out from this month. It will be used from end of this month, a system that, a twin system of approval and payment, so that whatever is approved is what is paid. To avoid this voiding that Senator Dula was referring to, that you have requisitioned money to pay this and you pay X. And by the way, as I conclude, Chair, what Senator Dula said about counties going for 3 months without salaries, in the current setup, I think it is criminal and inhuman. Because why would you not pay your staff salaries and you are budgeted for that salary? It is consuming it for some counties even over 50%. And we have given you the allocation for the month. Even if we are late, we are only late for the month of July now, which we'll pay next week. So what justification would a county have not to pay their staff for 2 months? Yeah, it does not make sense at all. So those are counties that must be called out and punished accordingly. Thank you, Chair.
Let me then guide you to the next question, but
You forgot on COP issue.
I think you mentioned that they're rolling out a system.
Yeah. I said that we have a system that is going to connect the approval.
Are you
with
proposing a
the
policy shift or a legislative intervention, do you think?
Well, these are just systems. You just come up with a system.
It's just the
So there is no. Actually, these people who have been paying things that have not been approved are the ones who have run away from policy.
I mean, they're just
There is no
criminals.
new policy. They are just
I mean, it's an offense under the Act.
blatant violation of our
Does
procedures.
it mean now that TSCC, that they had access to e-procurement and payment, they can assist because it's criminal?
You know, unfortunately, Senator Cherga, I am not a lawyer, but I would think so. If we have given the system,
If they are given access.
and this is what they should do, and if EACC wants to get the access to the system, I don't think they should be denied.
I think their mandate also allows them to be proactive.
They
rather
can be
than to
proactive and deal with the
morticians
risk
like
matters.
this committee.
Actually, EACC doesn't have to wait for Auditor General to audit.
Correct.
They can go into the system, see this kind of mismanagement and misapplication of funds, and deal with it at source. They can summon, and they have summoned, by the way, people, cases we don't even know exist.
Yeah.
They call people and ask you why you have done 1, 2, 3. So EACC has that power.
So you think, finally, Chair, you think that that system will prevent, because, Chair, it is also, we don't want anybody to be morticians. We want to be preventative. So these systems you are proposing, will it in any case be preventative, as in it will prevent? Because we don't want also those voiding of payments to be done, then we come and arrest people later. We want this thing not to happen. That's our prayer, because, Chair, it is so sad. For example, Nandi, in the last financial year, they did voiding of payments of around 586 million Kenya shillings. And most of those companies and payments was not reflective of the requisitions to COB. So we want something that can prevent, it can detect. It's like walking into this building with a gun. When you just work, the security will not allow you to pass. So we are looking for something like that, that you cannot, you know, Chair, you cannot access.
So, Chair, actually that's the main reason why we are coming up with this twin system, where approval is linked to payment, so that whatever is approved is paid. Otherwise, there would be no need for this system.
I mean, it has been unacceptable that for 10 years, that gap has been there. Yeah. And those of us even who came from the corporate world, and I've given the example, even in the insurance world, if approval has been made to pay a claim, once that approval has been made, you cannot pay another claimant. But that is what is happening in government. I mean, it's just completely unacceptable. It's against acceptable practices, and I think now it falls on you to close the gap, and I'm happy that you're ready to take
one last
action.
one, CS, on expenditure by the counties. You know, some of the counties, they don't even submit their expenditure report, and that is also very critical. I don't know whether the system can be connected to that. Failure to submit your expenditure report. The budget process, when you do the requisition, should be actually dealt with. I don't know whether that's possible. Because at the end of the day, Kenyans should know how their money is spent.
Yes.
Yeah?
I'll look into that matter of counties failing to give expenditure report, but that again is another criminal, because the law is clear on how you are supposed to report, and the timelines and the dates are set. If they are not complying, in fact, in my view, those are now the candidates for withholding of funds under Article 225, so that we don't give you money if you can't give your as a report. But I'll check if this system is also linked to that kind of report.
CS, I think with this kind of engagement and positive engagement between the National Treasury and the Senate, let us not make counties places where people want to become governors so that they can be rich. Let counties be places where people go to because they want to serve. But at the moment, there are too many loopholes, and people go to counties to enrich themselves rather than to serve the people. And we'll be happy to walk this journey with you and to be able to achieve some of these things in your tenure as CS. Now, the last question was on conditional grants. I can see it's a 2-page report, which I think we can go through in the next 5 minutes. And if there are additional questions, we can do either a follow-up technical meeting or we can have another appointment. CS, proceed. The Parliamentary Budget Office has done an analysis that indicates that since 2013, 299 billion has been disbursed to counties as conditional and unconditional grants. This committee is concerned that we don't seem to have a very clear view on how the 299 billion or 300 billion has been used over the last 10 years. Proceed, CS.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, again, this was in response to the questions that were raised by the committee. First, I'm required to provide the current policy and funding framework guiding collaboration between the Government of Kenya and the development partners in financing county programs and projects. And number 2, I will explain the criteria used in determining the type, amount, and distribution of conditional grants to county government. And there are other issues, 2 more issues that I'll deal with. So quickly, so that I don't spend much more time, this is my response regarding current policy and funding framework guiding the collaboration between GOK and development partners. Collaboration between the Government of Kenya and development partners is guided by the Public Debt and Borrowing Policy of 2020, which provides a strategic framework for mobilizing and managing external resources in line with the national priorities. Under this framework, the National Treasury facilitates the negotiation and signing of financing agreements with development partners for sector-specific programs and projects. These initiatives proposed by relevant ministries, departments, and agencies, MDS, may target county-level implementation based on identified needs and sectoral focus. So while the National Treasury manages the financing process, implementation is delegated to the responsible MDS in accordance with the financing agreements, and this structure ensures that development partner resources are aligned to government systems while allowing for decentralized execution at the county level. However, Chairman, I want to point out something before I move to the next. If you just rely on this written response that I've given this committee, you may think it is a bed of roses in terms of the relationship with funding from development partners. The reality is not. The reality is the opposite. The reality is that we have a lot of challenges in terms of development partner funding, both at the national level and the county level. Why? One, we have committed so much to development partner projects which don't even take off for a myriad of reasons. And one of the reasons is the way we have been coming up as a country with what programs to be funded has been largely supply driven, where development partner from nowhere just appears and tells you, I have money here, I want to put it in this sector, and we pick it up. Some we even put, and there are condition precedents of counterpart funding. You lock it there, and it has even locked our budget to the extent our fiscal space is this narrow. Yet we have so many projects that are not progressing, and they have clogged the system. Whether it is World Bank projects, and we are working with World Bank to review their programs to that effect in terms of absorption. A lot of challenges. We don't even provide the counterpart funding, yet that is a requirement. You find there are accountability challenges, you have procurement challenges. So the reason why I did not put that here is because the government has taken note. And the Deputy President's office and my office are working. We have formed a team that is working in reviewing all the engagements and development partner funding in this country. We are reviewing the whole portfolio. We are looking at the challenges. We are looking at even how then do we get to projects to be funded by development partners. They must come from something. They must come from a government priority program based on Vision 2030 or better concept or that concept or that manifesto of the government that will be in power at any given time. And that must cascade now to the the county integrated CIDPs, so that we tie development funding, development projects to government planning agenda, because we have not been doing that, and see how to deal with the challenges that these development partner projects are facing. If a project requires counterpart funding and we don't have it, there is no reason why we get into it. We must just say we are not ready for this program. And if the requirement by the development partner in terms of procurement is against or going contrary to our Public Procurement and Asset Disposal Act, then we need also to state that from the onset. We end up, Chair, even paying commitment fees and charges. We are charged for idle money that we have not even spent. And we have been doing that for years. So, in a nutshell, this is a work in progress, Chair. I want to just report that we are doing a complete overview and overhaul of development partner funding. I thought I should explain that. On the second question of the criteria used, which will be partly explained by what I've just said, but I want to say this in response, that the criteria used to determine the type, amount, and distribution of conditional grants to counties is dependent on specific projects and programs. They are therefore agreed upon between the county governments where the projects fall and the implementing MDS. Such information is summarized in the framework for management of each conditional grant that the MDS develop and submit to the National Treasury for inclusion in the county government's additional allocations bill in each financial year.
Yes,
yes.
I know you had requested that at 12:30 you had another engagement. It is 12:33.
I could leave in the next 12 minutes.
Since you have your submissions in writing,
yes,
we could take note and maybe just ask, is there any part of this submission that you want to highlight or to emphasize, so that I can save you from having to read everything verbatim?
Yeah, no, I actually, I wanted just to point out some of the things that are coming up, like in question 4, I've actually explained in my off-the-cuff remarks.
Yes, yes. Yes.
Where I've explained on what basis are we coming up with these projects to be developed, to be funded through development partners, through conditional grants and and other grants. And,
maybe one thing that
yes.
and what prompted this interaction is this question: who is
to invite county executives? And we were asking ourselves, really, as Public Accounts Committee of National Assembly, should we be dealing with the county government staff, or this matter we can refer it to the Senate? We were belaboring. I mean, we were trying to argue with ourselves. But again, according to the way it is structured, the money comes through the line ministry, and so the State Department that disburses the money to the counties, the accounting officer becomes again responsible in terms of PFM Act. So it is a challenge, but it depends on the design of each program, depending on how the development partners have agreed with us. I think what going forward we may need to do is to put up a system where it is very clear who the accounting officer is for each disbursement. But as at now, I'll agree with you that it is a gray area that my ministry must deal with. I don't know whether that answers your question, Chair, but it is an area that I think we have to engage our minds to better.
Can we have a framework where it's almost like an intergovernmental agreement? Because we've had this problem with RMLF. Because RMLF, when it was being sent to counties, and I think it's the largest disbursement that has gone to counties as conditional grants, PBO indicates that cumulatively 42 billion was sent to counties as RMLF when it was still active. The figure could have been higher because there was a year where it was made part of equitable share. But then the accountability arrangements for RMLF was reporting through the Kenya Roads Board. And then the Kenya Roads Board would appear before the National Assembly. And yet there's a county roads work plan that is defined, that is approved and implemented in the counties. And you know, when you are a member of National Assembly, that there was a lot of duplication of projects. RMLF, maintenance from RMLF and maintenance from the kitty of the member of National Assembly. And so a lot of money would get lost. How can we design a framework where once that money goes to county, then we let the counties be the accounting officers through some intergovernmental arrangement? Yes.
Yeah, I think that is something that we can look into, and especially now that we are likely to come up with a new legislative. So, Chair, I think that is something that we need to look into, especially now that, especially on RMLF, that we have to come up with a new legislative framework to guide it, because there is now none. I know the matter is in court, but if that matter was not appealed, I think we would not have any legal framework really to spend the money. So we need to capture, if we are going to involve, because the courts at that level, at the High Court level, had said we must include the counties. So in the process of doing that, then we must again come up with how then do we account for the money that is given to the counties. But I wish to report also that already we are coming up with a policy. The National Treasury is coming with a national policy on intergovernmental fiscal transfers. So all the monies that will be transferred to the counties or other whatever agencies, there is going to be a clear policy on how that should be accounted for. And that would clearly help us in dealing with this challenge that presently we are facing.
Thank you. Perhaps one of the reasons why my members are in and out is that we have a speakers Kamkunji that was starting at 12 o'clock. So that also puts pressure on us to go and join that Kamkunji. But I think that you have done justice to the questions that we had sent to you. What I want to propose as the next steps is that the technical teams, and I'd like the project manager for this National Steering Committee to be in close contact with the PBO and with Parliament, We will do an assessment of the responses that have been submitted and see where the gaps are, and if there are certain gaps in terms of information, we can try to get the information back from the technical teams, and if that fails, then we will have to call the CS. But it was important for us to get the policy perspective from the CS. On systems, I think systems, we must also apply our minds to it, and I think we might need to have a separate session where we are looking at the entire systems landscape, because we would like to support you to have an efficient, automated government, e-government, and we must find a way of compelling county governments to automate their operations. I said earlier that you sit now at the national government, and you could go to a county that ideally ought to support the government because they voted for that government. But if the county government is underperforming, then the disaffection is not just, people sometimes cannot differentiate those two levels of government. Maybe the clever ones can differentiate, but if they go to hospitals and they don't find drugs, they'll say SHA is not working. They will not say the county government has failed. You talked about on-source revenue, and I am seeing a problem. Many counties had overestimated their OSR on the basis of fees from health facilities. Now, I've heard your colleague Duale talk about the need not to charge fees in level 1, level 2, level 3 hospitals. I mean, even Homa Bay County grew its own source revenue as a result of greater efficiency in collection of hospital fees. But with this new SHA arrangement, with these new health laws, should we expect them to continue collecting the hundreds of millions from health facilities? And yet they have built a budget on the basis of those collections. They have gone ahead and signed something with CPF, which I think is something we still need to discuss and find out whether the necessary guarantees were obtained and whether it is an arrangement that required guarantees. I think that's I'll have a one-on-one with you on that, since we come from the same county, to ensure that everything is done accordingly. But it was based on expectations that they were going to collect revenue. So if the health facility revenue is not coming, where will they plug the 500 or 400 million gap to ensure that that loan is repaid? So we will have some follow-up conversations, some before the committee, some perhaps I might just walk over to the Treasury. I want to propose also the steering committee. Let us do a national workshop for oversight bodies, particularly focusing on county governments, where the Public Accounts Committee, Public Investments Committee of the Senate, alongside the Public Accounts Committees of county assemblies, because that's where primary oversight should be. CS, we tried as a committee to consider the audit reports of county governments by 30th of March for the first time. It was not easy, but no single county assembly was able to consider the financial statements and the reports of the Auditor General within those timelines. And so you have a responsibility for capacity building. I think that's also a responsibility of the National Treasury. And your representative has always told us that, you are doing things, you are making proposals, you are sending policies to counties. So I believe this should not be a problematic thing in terms of budgeting. Is that something that can be organized? A national workshop on the standards, on the transition for oversight committees? It's something that can be done.
Chair, I think my answer is yes. We'll just look at the logistics around it,
yeah,
and see. In terms of cost, we'll check, but I think it is the benefits may be outweighing the cost.
Correct.
Because we need proper understanding of this system. And I want to just maybe conclude, I know you will be the one concluding, that the chair, as I said on 12th of June, going forward is going to be a lot more of reforms. A lot more reforms, because that is where Kenyans are complaining. They are complaining of misuse of their money. The taxes that are collected can serve us, but the misuse is too much. That's why you see we have, almost in every area, we are bringing reforms just to close some of the taps that have been exploited over the years. Thank you.
Yeah, so Clerk, please liaise with the Dr. Ndungu and the Treasury so that we set up that conference. You know, CS, IBEC was supposed to be the forum for CC's finance from counties. And then governors hijacked it. And then it became a political forum. So we don't seem to have a sectoral working group for CC finance. It was supposed to be IBEC. So in this national workshop, we can bring in even the CC finance so that we can get their perspective. On Article 225, we've agreed that you're going to apply your mind to it, but we'll also extract our list of shame, looking at several parameters, I think the fiscal responsibility principles are already defined in the PFM Act, and we can also add additional considerations coming from the report of the Auditor General, and we can have a conversation and initiate some debate so that even if you are to invoke Article 225, these counties would know that they have been given an opportunity to reform and they have failed to do so. Particularly, and one, you know, you talked about counties not paying salaries. But the saddest thing is counties paying salaries but not remitting statutory deductions. And it runs for a year. And yet that money has been requisitioned. And you wonder where that money is redirected. Surely, CS, for counties like those, why should you continue sending the money when you send the money, they are not remitting statutory deductions, employees are not getting medical attention from SHA, employees are not getting credit facilities from SACCOs. I mean, these ones, you cannot be accused of overreach.
And Chair, just maybe to address that before, am I taking your mouth? Let me take the mic from your mouth. That's why we are coming up with this integrated system, and it is going to cure that. And Chair, if you want to know something, it says, MDS are ready, and we are rolling it this month. In fact, it was supposed to be in July. There was a bit of technicality. We allowed August. August, we are going to have all salaries paid through this integrated system. For MDAs, they are ready. For county assemblies, they are ready. County executives, they are not. So I was given some excuse that they can be ready in a year. I have said no. They must be ready. All these challenges you are talking about, that the vote is one, and the department has spread, the same way national government has various departments, so are the counties. So we must implement it. And you know the biggest culprits are county executives, where we have parallel payroll systems, some manual, some this, and we hear of ghost workers. Even county governments have come out to say they have been having ghost workers in their system. So, Chair, I want to agree with you. We are taking action on that. We are integrating the system. We will be deducting all this at source. Because, you see, if you give me my salary, you are supposed to pay my salary in full. And what these paying agents have been doing is we are paying me part of my salary and retaining part of it, which I've given authority to go somewhere, either through statutory deduction, through law, like pay as you earn, NSSF contribution. Others, members have given approval to go to their pension, and you don't remit it. When I retire, I'm expecting so much. I am told your money has not been remitted over the years. It is frustrating, and that we are curing.
And again, it is criminal. And Patrick, the OAG did a special audit on county government payroll?
Yes, Chairman. And the reports were put in Senate last week.
Last week?
Yes.
Did they cover all the 47 counties?
All the 47 counties.
So we'll do a matrix so that we prioritize perhaps the top offenders, and we'll have interrogations. And perhaps once we are done with interrogations, when it comes to policy recommendations, we will call in the CS at the end of that interrogation, because a lot of bad things are happening when it comes to human resource in county governments. I think with that, we could conclude. Senator Dulo.
Waziri, first, thank you so much. And I'm sure it's good to have you in that position, since you understand Parliament and also what's happening on the ground better. But I think my advice to you, if not for anything, put proper disciplinary systems in place within the counties. And I'm sure even members of public will appreciate that. Because if they actually pay tax and they get proper service delivery, that is something that they will be able to appreciate. So before the expiry of your term, which we don't know when, put proper disciplinary systems in place that hold counties accountable. And the second bit, accountability, independency of the assembly. It's really very critical because executives are actually frustrating the assembly. And that is why they are unable even to carry out their primary oversight role. Something needs to be done. If you need assistance of the Senate, we will be there to support for you as far as legislations are concerned. But independence of the assembly is very critical. I thank you.
Thank you, Senator Dulo. Anything in closing before we adjourn? Yes.
No, just to thank you, Chair, for according us this opportunity to explain some of these reforms that we are putting in place to make sure that the taxpayers' money is used prudently, economically, and realizes the objective for which we are taxing Kenyans. And I'll agree with you, we will take action and we will show by example, demonstrate that it is not business as usual. And yes, in terms of a disciplinary action, I think it is important. So I agree. And Chair, we've had very good engagement. I thank you for steering also this committee the way you've done it.
Thank you, CS. We will continue the conversations formally and informally. I think I prefer a committee engagement rather than the plenary engagement, because plenary, you don't have an opportunity to get to the bottom of issues. But we shall also not call you unnecessarily. I think empower your technical team that whenever they get a call from our clerks, they should respond. They don't have to wait for the CS to be the one to appear before this committee. We understand your many other engagements, and I believe we can achieve a lot through the technical teams and through your liaison officer who is sitting in this committee. Thank you, everybody, and that brings us to a close of this meeting. This meeting is adjourned. We shall, next week we have devolution conference, and so we'll not have committee meetings, but I've noted that we've got something we are supposed to do at the pavilion in Homa Bay. So our next meeting will be the Monday. Is it the Monday? The Monday? Monday, the 18th. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you, CS, and your delegation.